Hey, it's Mark Alexander with Benchmark Mortgage. Wanted to give you a December market recap report as we finish this year. And as a client of mine, I just want to make sure you're always staying ahead of the curve when it comes to the housing market, the mortgage market, interest rates, and everything to expect to ensure that you are a successful homeowner. And so I'm going to dive into the data here. If you want to copy the slides, feel free to text or email me and we'll shoot those over to you. But this quote came from Bill McBride with Calculated Risk. With the recent house price increases, some people are worried about a new housing bubble. But mortgage debt isn't a concern, and lending standards are much better now than during the bubble. And I thought this was a good quote to come up because a lot of the clients I'm talking to are concerned that home prices are going to be falling or crashing. And really, there's just a lot of misinformation when you look at the news and the media. And so I want to really share with you guys today some real data that we're seeing from the market experts around the housing market. And so the next slide we'll go through is actually consumer debt. And this is showing that consumer debt is at a record level. And so I'm not here to say that the United States economy and the consumer debt load is at the all-time low. That's not the case, right? We're actually at all-time highs with consumer debt in America right now. But let's unpack that a little bit more, right? When you look at mortgage debt is in the yellow here, and it's actually up to almost over around $13 trillion right now in America, right? When you compare that to home equity lines, auto loans, credit cards, it's definitely the majority of the debt, right? And so when you look at that, that's a lot of debt. And let's put this into another perspective here. If we go to the next slide, 13.17 trillion as of Q2 of 2024 in mortgage debt. You go all the way back to 2000, we've basically not tripled yet, but we've gone up a decent amount of mortgage debt in America. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, this is what a lot of people don't realize is what about total homeowner equity? And so there's a massive trend line. When you look back at 2008, right? We had a crossover where there's actually more debt in America than equity, which was a bad point, right? Real estate was going down and depreciating in double digits year over year versus recently over the last decade, we've seen one of the biggest wealth creators happen in America. And a lot of that is inflation, the amount of money supply. And so real estate has been a time tested avenue to help generate wealth and really fight inflation is the key, right? And so I just wanted to share this with you because I think it puts some things into perspective. Now, the other part of the 2008 versus where we're at today, and a common thing that I hear from clients is about foreclosures. If we go back and we look at mortgage delinquency, which led to foreclosures, let's look at the delinquency rate. So this is the percentage of mortgage balances that are 90 days plus delinquent through Q3 of this year. And so if you go back to 2008, we had an all-time high mortgage delinquency, right? There was no underwriting standards. People were buying houses that shouldn't have, and there was also adjustable rates. Well, after that, the government stepped in and we've been in fixed rate, highly qualified, highly underwritten loans. And we're at a point where we have seen a little bit of an uptick, right? In October 2024, the U.S. housing market experienced a slight uptick of foreclosure activity with 30,784 properties filing for foreclosure. So that's a 4% increase from the previous month, but it's an 11% decrease year over year. So when we look at that, right, we go back to that slide, it's a small tick in the grand scheme of things, right? We're not in the '08 apocalypse with the housing market crash, but we are seeing a tick up, and that's natural when things are, the economy's not doing as well. And when you look at foreclosures, let me move this down, U.S. foreclosure activity decreased actually in Q3. So when we saw in the 2020, 2021, there was the lowest point of foreclosures, right? Because there was a lot of relief, there was a lot of loan modifications, things like that. Whereas now we have seen that tick up, but in the grand scheme of things, rewinding back to '07, '08 timeframe, we are much, much, much less with foreclosures in America. And it goes back to a lot of equity. When people are in tough times, they have equity to pull on. They're not having to fire sale their home and list and under depreciate it. The other thing, just the state of the market right now, is shift into inventory, right? Because that's been a hot topic, especially amongst our industry with real estate agents and our clients that are buying homes right now. There's actually a very great opportunity for home buyers right now, because if you look at 2021, 2022, 23, we had a lower amount of median days on market, which means basically how many days would it take if no new homes came on the market for all of the inventory to be depleted. And so we have seen an uptick, right? We're at 58 days on market as a country versus 43. That just means there's more homes sitting in the market a little bit longer. Okay. Again, for home buyers right now, that means that you have more buying power, you have more negotiating room than you did a few years ago when there was multiple offers on every house. And we look at inventory increase, we go from 2021 in America, we had 565,000 active listing count in October of 2021. We fast forward to 2024, we're almost at a million. So we've seen almost a doubling of inventory in the last few years. But when you think in the grand scheme of things, yes, we have more inventory, which could lead to home prices dropping. All this is instead of homes depreciating, we're decelerating in appreciation. Okay. So homes aren't going up 10, 15, 20% year over year. They're going up at a more modest pace because we're seeing more inventory, which is a healthy rebalancing of the housing market. Home sales are down too. So if we look at this going from 2021 to 2024, we're actually in a much lower point of home sales, right? It's one of the lowest points in recorded history with U.S. home sales. And so if you look at it, we have rising inventory, lower home sales. That's driven by interest rates increasing and the economy slowing. But we go back to the point of we're not in an apocalyptic real estate environment. We're in a rebalancing state. And so that's where one of the main points I want to drive home here. And as we look ahead here into 2025, let's look at where mortgage rates are expected from the major sources. Fannie Mae, the largest mortgage banker in America, Mortgage Bankers Association, and Wells Fargo have always put their stats together, and we take an average of the three. Mortgage rates into 2025 are expected to go down, but not quite at the pace that a lot of people thought. And so if we look at this on a graph, right, saw the fastest interest rate increase in U.S. history, topping out at 8%. We are actually in a downward cycle over the last 14 months in our country. We peaked back in October of 2023 at 8%. We are shifting down. Now, a lot of people want rates to go down quicker. In my opinion, though, we wanted them to staircase down because it's going to create a healthy environment to make sure inflation doesn't tick back up and we don't see an overstimulation of appreciation waves again in our country, right? We want to keep inflation at 2 to 3%, home price appreciation at 3 to 4%. We don't want double digits in either category. And so it's actually a good thing that we're seeing rates come down, but we're not seeing them crash downwards, which would actually be a negative thing long term for our economy. If we're looking at 2025 home price forecasts, taking an average of 16 different economists and different analysts in the market, the average as we head into next year is that we're going to see around a 3% home price appreciation forecast. And when you think about that, a $500,000 home going up 3% of value, that's still $15,000 year over year. And so appreciation is the biggest wealth creator when it comes to real estate in America, right? You pay the loan down, the principal down, but where the real wealth is created is through the appreciation gain. And that comes from the long term, right? If we go into, lastly, total home sale forecasts, right? Like I was saying before in a previous slide, we've seen a down tick, right? We are lower than the average of like a 2019 market when it was a more neutral market. Well, next year, the projection from Census Bureau, Fannie Mae, Mortgage Bankers, and the National Association of Realtors, we're seeing an uptick as the forecast for next year. Part of that's driven by lower rates, economy stabilizing, and things like that. And so I know I threw a lot at you here, but I want to make sure you stay up to date with what's going on. Even if you're not in the market to buy, it's good to understand why you bought, right? Where you're at in your current position. And we help all of our clients with making sure that the mortgage you stay in is always going to be running efficiently for you. And as the market changes and as your life changes, it's always important to have a plan and make sure you continue with that plan. And so if you want to have a regroup call, feel free to reach out to us. You can text, call, we'll set up a time to speak. If you want to copy today's slides, again, feel free to scan the QR code, text us, email us. And then lastly, we work 100% by referral basis. We'd love to help your coworkers, your friends, your families. Feel free to share this with them. Give them this data, help them through their next home purchase or their next home sale. We're happy to consult with them as well, fully complimentary, just to make sure that they're in the best position possible too. So I look forward to staying in touch as we finish this year and heading into next year. And happy holidays to you and your family. Take care.